Hello everybody and welcome to another video, and today we're going to be revisiting Mindistry. Now about 2 weeks ago I checked out this artist with a track called Mardröm, which I believe, if I remember correctly, it means nightmare in Swedish. Now when Gustav first approached me to have a look at his music, he presented me with two tracks. One of them was Mardröm and the other was U.M.L.B, which is the track we're going to be looking at today. Now I don't actually know what U.M.L.B is. Maybe I should have asked him that before doing this track, but maybe we'll find out. And also, when I checked out Mardröm, Gustav had given me a translated version of the lyrics because he sings in Swedish. But what he'd done, he'd taken his lyrics, thrown them into Google Translate, and then just sent them on to me. So the actual translation itself was really quite bad. It was terrible. And after he watched the video I did of Mardröm, he got back to me and goes, "That translation was terrible. I'm really sorry. I'll try and do better." So what he went and did, he then went back and translated the lyrics to UMLB himself. He hand translated it and sent that on to me for when I did this video. And, it was very good of him to take the time out to do that. He's a very, very nice bloke. We've had quite a few conversations since doing that first video. He seemed like a very, very nice bloke. So yeah, I'm intrigued to see what this is like, because obviously when I checked out Mardröm, it was a great piece of music. It sounded very much like it sounded like a Swedish Rammstein, basically, heavy industrial music. So I'm curious to see where this one goes. Like I said, I do have a translation of the lyrics that were provided to me by Gustav himself, which was very good of him to do. So we'll just jump into this and see what we've got. So U.M.L.B by Mindistry. Let's have a look.
Tyranners globala dödsdom. Deras regn av terror blev på slutet gick en destination. Våldet är allt som styr demokratin. Ingen kommer rädda dig ifrån dessa maktsvin. Sista blodbad. Utrotning maskaplig, sista blodbad. Gör som du vill så länge det sker på deras sätt. Ingen kommer rädda dig när du väl blir intervilad på deras spett. Utrotning maskaplig, sista blodbad. Utrotning maskaplig, sista blodbad. Utrotning maskaplig, sista blodbad. Allting som vi en gång haft i ryggen har ett minne kvar. Utrotning maskaplig, sista blodbad. Tog allting som vi har kvar och la det i en kall grav. Blod
Yes. There we go. That was U.M.L.B. by Mindistry. And again, a fantastic piece of music. Slightly different in style from Mardrum. Because, like I said, Mardrum had a very distinctive sound to it, which, like I said, sounded very much like a Swedish version of Rammstein with some of his own elements thrown in. This one, it still had that sort of industrial feel to it, but it was more like a death metal track than like the Rammstein industrial style. So like industrial death metal maybe? But it was a good, very catchy piece of music. I mean, that chorus is only 4 words, but it's very catchy. And the chorus actually explains the title of this track as well. Now, the actual track itself, as you could probably tell by the video, and if you speak Swedish, it seems to be talking about war. It's talking about the consequences of war, the fact that how it affects people, that aren't actually part of the war, if that makes sense. The sort of everyday people, that get caught in the middle of it, and how it's like the greedy politicians and people like that, they're benefiting from it, and they're the people that are actually setting up the wars and sending us worthless peons to go and fight for them because that country's got something I want, sort of thing. So, it's got a strong and powerful meaning to it. And it goes, violent conclusion to our bloodshed. A global reign of terror chose the outcome as we bled. Violence that governs all democracy. No one saves you from these pigs of power and heresy. So there you go. A global reign of terror, choose the outcome as we bleed. So again, it's these politicians going, right, you go fight that war for me. We'll just sit back here, do whatever the hell we want whilst we watch you die for our pointless causes. Because there's never really been a war that's been for a good cause, really. It's always something stupid like they've got oil, or they've allegedly got weapons of mass destruction that we actually sold to them years ago and now we don't want them to have them anymore. Or, those people have got the wrong hair and eye colour, or my God is better than your God. It's always some stupid, pathetic excuse. And these people in power just go, right, that's it. Go kill them. I'm just going to sit here drinking champagne, eating caviar, growing fat off the money I'm making from this war. Whilst, you lot just go suffer and die, doesn't bother me any. Then it comes to the chorus, which I said links to the title U.M.L.B. But unfortunately, the English translation doesn't quite work as well, because the actual chorus, and I'm going to pronounce these horribly, I do apologise horribly, is Utrotning Maskrav Likista Blodbad. So that's the UMLB. And that translates to eradication, mass grave, coffin, bloodshed. Or I've got here bloodbad stands for carnage, but bloodshed, I suppose, works. So in English, it would be EMCB rather than UMLB. And it doesn't quite rhyme the same as it does in Swedish. It sounds a lot better in the Swedish version. I even wrote a note here, this rhyme in Swedish is killer, not in English, though. So, but it's a very, like I said, it's just 4 words, but it's very catchy in the way it's presented. Then it carries on. Do as you please, as long as it happens on their terms. No one will save you once you are spiked on their skewers. So again, it's like, you live your life however you want, but make sure that we approve it first. Again, this is like these governments who are like dictating the way you should live your life. And if you don't live your life that way, then you're in trouble, you're getting arrested, you're getting murdered, whatever. It's like, yeah, go ahead, do what you want. No, not like that. Do what you want, but the way I told you to do it. And no one will save you once you're spiked on their skewers. It's like, once they've got you, once they've trapped you, there's no getting out of it. Then it goes back into that chorus: extinction, mass grave, coffin, bloodshed, repeated twice. And it says, of everything we once had, there is now only one memory left. Took everything we had and left it and put it in a cold grave. So we used to have everything, you know, we had this amazing country, or we had this amazing world, and now it's nothing but a memory because all these wars, all this conflict, all this bullshit that's going on in the world, it's destroying everything that we once had. And, you know, it's taken everything away from us and, you know, just buried it in a cold mass grave. So, you know, we're forced to live on the terms of our, quite frankly, bullshit governments. And then it goes eradication, mass grave, coffin, carnage. Then it repeats that again another 2 times, and then goes back into, of everything we once had, there is now only one memory left. Took everything we have left and put it in a cold grave. Excuse me. So, you know, it's a really powerful meaning to the song, and I know I say this time and time again, but I do like it when songs have a meaning, you know, when there's an actual purpose to the track. You know, obviously it's good to have like just random tracks anyway, but when they've actually got some deep important meaning to it, it makes it all the better, I think. You know, it actually has an impact. You know, it makes you sort of sit there and go, you know what, you're probably right. You know, because it's all very well singing and talking about like these empty, vapid non-issues, you know, just singing about bullshit, but a song that has meaning has impact. Because I truly believe that music is one of the most powerful mediums of communication that we have. You know, it's been around for millennia, you know, and it's the way stories used to be told. And, you know, we carry that on now with these songs. You know, and all too often people say, you know, heavy metal is meaningless, it's pointless, all it is noise, all it is talking about, you know, Satanism, worship, murder, you know, that you know, people have this idea that that's all that heavy metal is about. But the thing is, I find that more songs in metal actually talk about real world issues than in things like hip hop, pop, you know, R&B. You know, metal music talks about real world issues regularly and a lot. You know, things like pop music is some bloody singer whining about their ex-girlfriend, or, you know, talking about how they really want to find someone to love, etc, 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 or, you know, busting caps and popping caps in asses and, you know, all this bollocks. You know, there's nothing deep or interesting in the track. You know, I'm not saying all of it is like that. I mean, when you look at songs like Toy Soldiers by Eminem, you know, that's talking about a real world issue and something that really needs to be dealt with, you know, and it's a bloody great song. But I found that metal music, more than any other genre, talks about real world issues, and people fail to see that. But, you know, I'm going off on a tangent there, so I digress. A great piece of music, you know, really heavy. It's less like Mardrum, because, like I said, Mardrum had a very Rammstein feel to it, whereas this track feels more industrial death metal. You know, it had a very death metal feel about, you know, the actual music in itself. Obviously, it still had the electronica in the background as well, and, you know, still had a bit of that industrial feel, but not as much as Mardrum did. And the vocal performance as well was a lot more death metal. You know, there's more sort of growl to the voice. You know, it was a great piece of music. I really like this artist. You know, I think his music is fantastic. You know, me and Gustav have actually had many conversations since I first checked out Mardrum. And, you know, he's a really nice, chilled dude. He's really cool. He actually did a metal version of Michael Jackson's They Don't Really Care About Us. which I might look at some point. Obviously, I'm not really going to need the lyrics for that, but I'm curious to see what he's done with that track, because you may or may not believe it, I actually quite like Michael Jackson's music. I think I have everything by him, in fact. You know, I have a very wide taste in music. You know, so I'm intrigued to see what he's done with that. So I might take a look at that at some point, just out of morbid curiosity to see what he's done. But, you know, I really like his music. I think it is absolutely fantastic. And I am curious to see what to hear from him in future. But I don't know what else I can say about that, so we'll leave that as it is. Now, if you like this video, please consider giving it a like, maybe even subscribe if you're not already, because that would help me out considerably. And yeah, thank you all very, very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon. Bye-bye.